Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Maharaj, this
Krishna.
was just in connection to the wonderful replies that you gave to the first question and even to the question of Radhesham Prabhu. I'm just addressing a particular aspect of your reply, even though the reply was fabulous. But just to get a specific understanding, many times devotees, when they either enter into the Grihastha ashram or they do any other activities like a job or something, this aspect of from the scriptures of detachment that we talk about is so very much uh, present in the devotee's understanding, and it tends to make the devotee, I would use the word paranoid about attachment. They have a paranoia or a paranoid about, so it doesn't allow, that is the observation, doesn't allow a person to really be normal in the activity that he's supposed to do or she's supposed to do, leading to a real dysfunctional relationship. So how do we really balance, since you're talking about balance, have a proper balance understanding that we enter into the Grihastha not with the purpose of detachment. Yes, we ultimately detach ourselves. And that is what Anand Brahma Prabhu so wonderfully elaborated. But many times, before even entering, we talk about detachment. And then while living in the ashram, how can a person live in a proper way when the whole purpose of entering the ashram is when will I get detached? So how do we really balance? I've seen devotees, they get into a job with understanding this is all Maya. Now how does one do a job if it is all Maya? So my point is, how do we really balance this scriptural understanding of detachment and everything with the practical way a person lives? Because we have seen it is many times dysfunctional the way people live, either in the married life or in their social life.
You are very enthusiastic. Bhakti is to balance detachment with attachment. Attachment to the positive brings about sustainable detachment from the negative. So, arrogance, lust, greed, envy, these are negative. And the 9 processes of devotional service are positive. So it may be, let us give example of Sudama Vipra. Sudama Vipra lived in total poverty. Yes? So he was really detached. He was so detached. Srila Prabhupada quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam that every part of his body was so thin due to starvation that you could see his veins. Could you imagine looking at somebody and every part of his body there's veins coming out because he's so starving? And his wife was similar. They lived in such a simple house. So they were detached. Yes? The wife wasn't thinking, Sudama, it's so nice that you're suffering so much because you're detached. Sudama's wife was thinking, you shouldn't be suffering so much. Ask Krishna for some food. Ask him for some basic needs. And to please his wife, Sudama went to meet Krishna. Yes? So they were detached. But Krishna wanted them to be happy in this world too. He wanted them to be engaged in devotional service, and he knew what was good for their devotional service. If it was not good for their devotional service, Krishna wouldn't have given it anything. I mean, Krishna wanted them to be happy in this world too. So he gave them a palace better than Indra's. But they were detached. They were even more detached living in the palace than they were in poverty because they saw everything as Krishna's property. They cared about each other. It's not that you don't love each other, but you love each other with Krishna in the center. Devotees are supposed to love each other. Loving relationship is Vaishnava society. Doesn't mean you love everyone except your wife. You love everyone except your husband. You love everyone except your children because you don't want to be attached. You're supposed to love your children and your wife, and you're supposed to love your godbrothers and godsisters, and you're supposed to love the cows and the goats and everyone. That's what devotional service is. But there's a way of loving. You respect, you honor, you're a well-wisher, but you're not doing it for your own personal sense gratification. You're doing it in such a way to uplift each other, to bring each other closer to Krishna, with Krishna in the center. So Sudama Vipra and his wife were totally detached, living in a palace better than Indra. And the wife was so worried and concerned about the husband, and the husband was trying to please the wife. That's the way they were when they were in poverty. And now they were just doing it in another way when they were in luxury. So detachment comes when we focus on simultaneously accepting what's favorable for devotional service and rejecting what's unfavorable for devotional service. And if we're not realistic and mature about helping each other to actually become more attached to Krishna, and we're just focusing in an imbalanced way on the detached aspect, then we can easily, as you say, become dysfunctional. Because it's unsustainable. You can't really live in that severely detached way, in a sustainable way, unless you're cultivating a higher taste simultaneously. So as devotees, we don't want to enjoy through our eyes things that just take us away from Krishna. So we see the beauty of the deities. And the beauty of the eyes is fulfilled, but it's bringing us closer to Krishna. If you have a propensity to dance, you don't go to the clubs where people are dancing to various types of sensuous music. You dance in kirtan. So engaging the mind and engaging the senses in positive Krishna devotional service has to go simultaneously to detaching ourselves from sense gratification. But it has to be done in a realistic way. And that's where, senior Vaishnavas are important to help to guide us. In family life, we have to nourish each other with Krishna consciousness, simultaneous to giving up, the selfish pursuits of life. They have to go hand in hand. And if there's an imbalance in that, then we will become dysfunctional. Does that address your question? I'm fearful to ask for any other questions. Srinanda Vrindavan Prabhu and Radhesham Prabhu and Sridham Prabhu, I think we covered a lot of subjects. Now let us have kirtan. Thank you.